punchline. He knocked the fuck out of Alistair Overeem. It almost seems like it should be impossible. Welcome.
Hey everyone. Alright, first and foremost, I made a very important discovery today because my dumbass actually opened up the pamphlet that came with my microphone. So, I've been talking into this thing like this, and you're supposed to talk into it like you're supposed to project your voice at the front of it. And I don't know if you guys can tell a difference, but it was bugging the hell out of me because when I was doing these, I was like, something is definitely wrong with the sound. So I guess these microphones, at least this kind, I don't know, there's probably different kinds, but it collects sound from like around it, right? So you get the sound coming this way, the sound coming this way, sound coming this way, and this way. But it doesn't sound so good coming in towards the top. So I don't know. I learn something new every day, right? Anyway, so let's try to sift our way through all the madness that has unfolded over the past week or so. So, yeah, I mean, it's really been ramped up the last couple of days, but over the past week, it's been pretty chaotic still, right? Like, so they announced this card, and this is the fourth time that they've tried to book the fight between Tony and Khabib, and the card is just stacked from top to bottom, right? Like, it's almost like a fucking fairy tale. Like, it's too good to be true. You got Khabib fighting Tony for the lightweight title, Rose rematching Joanna for the women's strawweight title. Who was next? Calvin Kattar was fighting Moicano. Anthony Pettis was fighting Michael Chiesa. And Felder was going to fight Iaquinta to open up the main card. I mean, what the hell more could you ask for, right? One of the best fight cards of the year so far. And you're thinking, though, like, this is probably going to go okay. Like, it seems like everything was just on, like, this path. And nothing was going to get in the way, right? Like, Khabib was finally making weight. He had a nutritionist. Like, Tony's always reliable unless he gets hurt. And, like, a week out of the fight, you're like, all right, they made it through camp. They're probably not getting hurt. They're going to be going light, you know what I mean? Cutting weight and stuff like that. And Tony has this freak accident where I guess someone said, I don't know. I've just heard things through, like, the room. Everyone has a different account, right? But I heard that someone said hello to him, and he turned around and tripped over some wires on the ground and tore his LCL. So, and that happened on April Fool's Day, so everyone thought it was a joke. So now, you find out it's not, right? Like, you get Max Holloway booked immediately after. Like, Dana White did a pretty good job of announcing it quickly. Like, that's why I thought, when I was talking about Holloway versus Khabib, I was like, this is it's an interesting fight because I thought that, not only is Max like a tough guy to fight in general, but I thought that Max had been warned ahead of time, maybe like, hey, this fight has fallen out before, be ready. And then you saw like a highlight of him saying that he would take the fight at the press conference. So I was like, maybe he's been staying in shape because in the back of his head, maybe he knows something. Like, maybe he knows, man, they might miss weight, I should be ready. But I think I was wrong because then I heard something. Brendan Schaub said something about like how he was saying he was really enjoying time with his family, not focusing as hard on training. So I was like, ooh, probably off on that one. Anyway, so then you find out, well, before you even find this out, you find out last night that apparently Artem Lobov and Khabib had like some kind of altercation. So Conor gets like 20 people in, flies them over from Ireland to New York, and a brawl breaks. And it's like, it's not funny, but it is funny. Like, what he did is funny. The results of it are not funny. Like, it was like a WWE stunt. Like, guys are backstage like flipping cars and shit, and someone breaks their back and then makes a miraculous comeback, and it's, you know what I mean? Like, that outlandish, like, theatrical type stuff, that's what I thought, like, that's what you would think was going on. Conor picked up a dolly and threw it through a bus window. And the window shattered and everything. It didn't it, like, bounced off, shattered the window. And it didn't actually go through the window. But Michael Chiesa gets, like, cut from the glass that fell in. And Ray Borg, I guess, gets glass particles in his eyes, is what Dana White was saying on ESPN this morning. So, you've just knocked 2 fights off of a card because of injury, and then the guy that you came in to defend, like, stick up for his honor, you did that and then got him kicked off the card, so now he's not getting paid. You know what I mean? Like, what a disaster that was. First off, I don't want to get caught up on the Conor thing. Like, I want to focus on the fights, but the point is, he comes and Chiesa and Pettis is off, and Borg was fighting Moreno, maybe. That's a good fight, and he's off now. And now you've already got people shuffling, and then you find out this morning that Holloway can't make weight, or the nutrition, he wants to keep going, but like they're looking at him and saying, no, man, you're not going to make it down. Like, it's not safe. So you're like, holy fuck, this is some kind of, this is insane. Like, this is maybe the most chaotic week I've ever seen for a fight card ever. I can never remember this many things going wrong and them scrambling all at once to figure things out. This is an extreme example. And all right, so now what they do is they start talking about Pettis, and my first thought is why? Because here's the problem. My problem with Pettis, and I love Anthony Pettis. I love to watch him fight. I think he's phenomenal, but he's been struggling lately, and particularly he struggles against people who kind of grind him out and like get in these dirty fights with him. Dustin Poirier, Eddie Alvarez. Oh my God, who was the other one that he just fought? Poirier, Alvarez, Rafael dos Anjos. He struggles with that type of pressure like that, and that's all Khabib is. I was like, this is a nightmare matchup for him. One thing that it would have done that I don't think people think about a lot is kind of validated how good Khabib's ground game is, because there's an argument that Anthony Pettis would have been the best fighter up until that point that Khabib would have fought while working off his back. Like, Pettis is very gifted at work. He's submitted Benson Henderson the same night that, I don't know if he was awarded his black belt that night, but he came out in his black belt for the fight, I know. And he armbarred him. He guillotined Charles Oliveira. I mean, Pettis has a very good and maybe the most underrated submission game in the sport. Like, I feel like he gets credit for his like Taekwondo background and being really flashy, and like he's the Showtime kick against Henderson that he pulled off in the WEC. But he's got more submissions than he does knockouts. He's very gifted off of his back, and like I think that it would have been enough to overcome smothering style that Khabib would have presented him? No, I don't think so. But it would have done a little bit more to validate things. But other than that, man, and like I said, I'm a Pettis fan. I like Pettis. But if you look at his past, 7 fights? He's only won 2, I think. Like, he's lost Barboza, Poirier. He beat Jim Miller. Oh, man, he beat someone else in that stretch, too. And I can't think of who it is. But he lost to Dos Anjos, like I said, Alvarez. He beat Gilbert Melendez before he went on like a 3-fight losing streak. Anyway, the point is, you're talking about a guy who hasn't been that competitive lately. Like, I hate to say it, but he just hasn't been. And then you've got... I fucking hate the ranking systems. I think they're pointless. I don't think they can do a goddamn thing for the sport except for hurt it. Like, all right, so Paul Felder, in my opinion, is probably the most deserving of the title shot. He made championship weight, but the New York State Athletic Commission said, no, not doing that because you're not ranked. So you don't have a fucking number besides your name, so you're not ranked. So you can't fight. And you're on a 3-fight winning streak right now. Your last loss was to Francisco Trinaldo, which is not a bad loss at all. You've been knocking people out. You just beat Charles Oliveira, who's one of the most talented 145ers on the ground, too, and survived. You were in deep danger in the first round of that fight, man, and you fought your way through it and then came back and got a knockout. And they're telling you, you don't have a number beside your name? Not happening. And then you pull Ally Quinta, who hasn't fought in like over a year. Almost 2 or something like that, right? And before that, he hadn't fought in a year or 2. It gives like he was off for a year and then 2 years, or off for 2 years and then a year. Like in between. It's something like that. I can't remember which. But point is, he hasn't fought in a long time, and like ring rust is real. Because MMA is so young and it's constantly evolving. So, like, when you're taking time off, if people have fought within the time period that you took off, they have an advantage over you because they're seeing things happen, and they're seeing things that people are starting to mess with in the gym come into the octagon. They're seeing happen in real time in a competition environment, like a high-stakes environment. They're experiencing all of that. So, I think Felder had a better argument than Iaquinta to fight, but Iaquinta's ranked. But Iaquinta also didn't make championship weight. He weighed in at 155.2. So now you've booked Khabib against a guy who is a stud. Like, don't get me wrong, Iaquinta's very good, and he beat Jorge Masvidal, right? Like, who has jumped up to 170. Like, he's fought some big guys before. But, oh my, you're feeding him to Khabib. And the guy that Iaquinta was going to fight before, and Paul Felder, is not the same animal. Like, they're 2 completely different styles. And that would have been the case for Felder too, don't get me wrong, but Felder's been more active than Ally Quinta, right? And it's ridiculous and rankings, like, does it really help, like, sell? How many? I would like to see the numbers that it helps to sell. Because, like, for me, I'm also maybe more of a fan than a lot of people who casually watch the sport, but Like, when I see number 2 against number 3, that doesn't matter to me. I'm much more interested in the style that these two are going to... Like, I'll give you a perfect example. I think Wonder Boy might be ranked 2 or maybe the number 1 contender in the world at 170, right? But Darren Till might be 7 or 9 or something like that. But to me, that is the fight that needs to happen. And it's a dangerous fight for Wonder Boy to take because Darren Till is ranked way lower than him. Like, he has a lot to lose and not a lot to gain. But, like, to people who... like, watch the sport a lot, that's a fantastic fight. And, like, I wish it wouldn't, like, penalize Wonder Boy so much for losing to him, because I just want to see how the styles play out, right? And, like, he shouldn't be penalized and be, like, and the rankings are all out of order anyway. I'm going to stop bitching about it, but it's ridiculous to me that Paul Felder is not fighting Khabib, is my point. He has every right to. He's been more active, he's been showing up, and he's been finishing people. I like Al Iaquinta, but, I mean... what are you going to... Iaquinta has a wrestling background, so maybe he's going to keep him off him, but man, I just feel like and anything is possible. So I won't discount any fighter, and Iaquinta's been in camp, so he is in shape, but good fucking luck, man. I mean, Khabib is just such an animal, and I don't think we've ever seen grappling on this high of a level. Maybe DC, to be completely honest with you, which is what makes the fight with Stipe so interesting, by the way. But I don't know. Well, I think that the UFC got put into a tough spot, no doubt, with all the Conor stuff. But, like, I really didn't expect Holloway to miss weight. And then when they start talking about, like, throwing Pettis in, and then for the title, right? Like, I don't even think this fight should be for the title. I don't know. Because if you look at what Khabib has done, he's deserving of a title, right? But if you beat Al Iaquinta, like, no offense to him, but does that prove that you're the best fighter in the world right now? I don't think so. I think if you beat Tony, it does. If you would have beat Max, maybe not quite, because people are still like, we want to see the Tony fight, or we want to see you fight Conor, right? But if you beat Max, it's still going to do a ton to cement your legacy and your, like, not that he needs it, because I think he's proven over his career that he's pretty unstoppable, but it does a lot to just, like, validate how good his grappling really is. Because like I said, I think him and DC are the two top dogs right now, and they're in the same camp. Let me see if I can pull up what the actual fight card is now, because I have no idea what it got changed to. And I'll do picks, because I know the one kid, I can't pronounce his last name very well. All right, Krits Grutsima versus Lozon. I don't even know how to pronounce that guy's last name. I need to get better with the name pronunciation. I always, like, blow it off, but I feel like if I'm going to be talking about them, I should at least pronounce their names right? But not today. Today I'm fucking them up. So, all right, first, I'm taking Lozon over Grutsemacher. I bet it's Grutsemacher. But anyway, I haven't got to watch any of these fights, and Lozon's the only one that I have data on in my head, and I know he's a vet, and I'm just expecting him to use that experience to get this done. This is going to be a very, like, I won't be educated on any of the fighters. Usually what I do when I do a breakdown is I watch, like, their past 3 fights, and I might watch, like, 4, 5, 6, depending on how interesting they were and how long they lasted, right? Because if you get a knockout in, like, the first round, you're not really gathering a whole lot on the person. You are, but you aren't. So I might watch 4 of, like, 3 of them are really quick knockouts or something. You know what I mean? But I didn't get to do that for this one. I got to do it for the top ones, the top 3, but not the bottom 2. So these first 2 are just complete guesses. So if you're going to take my advice and put money on it, go ahead, but don't fucking blame me if you get it wrong. All right, next is Kyle Bochniak versus Zabit Shapirov. And this Zabit kid is a fucking animal, and he's very explosive, and he's very fun to watch. This has potential to be fight of the night, and even its potential for fight of the night just got blown through the roof because it got promoted to the main card. It's hard to win when you're on the prelims, but you get bumped up onto the main card and have a big fight. That's usually going to take preference. I think this is the most... oh my god, actually, this card is still a really good card to watch if you're a fight fan, because the first 2, I don't think it'll get fight of the night, but I think it's going to be fun. This one has potential to be insane. Calvin Kattar versus Renato Moicano is going to be insane. Very fast-paced. I'm taking Calvin Kattar in that one. I think he's going to have a little bit of a power advantage when he lands. But Moicano is very, very talented on the feet, and he throws a lot of volume, so it's going to be interesting. I just think that when Kattar lands, it's going to be a little bit more significant, right? So I'm taking Kattar. All right, so then we got Rose versus Joanna, and I'm taking Joanna in this one, not because I don't necessarily doubt Rose. I just know what I've seen from Joanna in the past, and I know that she's able to go for 5 rounds at a pace that people just can't keep up with, right? Like, we haven't seen anyone who could yet. Even people like, is it Andrade and Claudia Gadelha? Like, they couldn't even keep that pace on Joanna. She fights a lot like Holloway, in a sense, to be honest with you. Like, she'll move backwards and accept pressure, but she's, like, making you fight at her speed. That's kind of what Holloway does. Then they put you in a trap, and then they just they start pouring it on you, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. That's interesting. I've never like, there's the way they move and everything, not so much, but the way they fight, like the way they accept pressure while dictating the pace, very similar. And then kind of lure you into a trap where they take over when you get tired and you can't keep up with it anymore, and they start pinpointing you and you can't time them. Very alike in that sense. And then Khabib's going to be fighting Iaquinta, like I was raving about earlier, right? I mean, what do you want me to do there? Habib, right? And not that Iaquinta can't do it. Like, anything is possible in the sport. I just think he's got to use takedown defense. Gleison Tebow set a blueprint for you. Use it. You got to have great takedown defense. You got to keep your back off the cage, and you have to be able to put combos together. Like, you have to be able to land on him. And maybe you should a takedown of your own in the center of the octagon where you don't, like, because if you get up against the fence, I think Khabib has, like, I think he's really strong. Like, obviously I don't fucking know, right? But, like, if you watch the way he moves people, and, like, it's like you got, like, strength. He doesn't look strong either, right? Like, you got, like, people who can bench a lot and shit, and then you got people who, when they grapple with you, they feel like gorillas. He's like a fucking gorilla, right? So, I don't know. I think it's a lot for Iaquinta to overcome, and especially on, like, a day's notice. Like, you just found out you're going to fight Khabib, who is 25-0 and maybe the best grappler we've ever seen. It's a fucking tall task. But keep it in the center of the octagon, and just maybe, because Iaquinta has some power too, so if he can land, like, he can hurt you. Habib's not out of danger in this fight, but I just think that his pressure is going to be a little bit too much for Iaquinta without a whole camp to prepare for it. Whew, what a fucking crazy week, though. I'm still excited for the card. Like I said, this is, like, if you're a fan of watching good fights, watch the card this weekend. It's going to be good. It really is. Like, people who are pissed about the headliner, I understand that. Like, there are people who just want to see, like, the championship fights. That's what they get excited for. But if you're just into watching really good fights, buy the card. It's going to be I promise, it's going to be full of good fights. You can hold me to that. And if I'm wrong, I don't know. Fucking deal with it, I guess, right? But, all right, I will catch you guys later. Thank you for tuning in.